This is another episode of Hot Take Point Made, and it is indeed very hot at the moment. I don't know if there's any points being made. As far as I can tell, the whole scene... Like, remember, I've just spent my whole adult life, kassad, trying to build up the idea that journalism isn't like a field full of scumbags and liars and idiots repeating gossip. We're now at a point, you can go check this yourself, where websites like hltv.org and Just2Eat actually published the following words. They said in a report by Overdrive, I went, report, click the link. It was just a tweet saying like this team plus this. It's like, bro, that ain't a report. That's a rumor. Like, understand the concept of a report is you've actually like corroborated the information and you know it's correct. What he does is he goes like this. He has a picture of like every single fucking player in the world, and he closes his eyes and goes, la, 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 throws the dart, it lands, and then he goes, ooh, fucking simple. Wow, never thought he'd go to complexity. And then he just sees if it happens. And then what happens is when like 1 time out of 10, he's right. He's like, what did I tell you? Are you not entertained?
Everybody forgets the other 9.
Here's the thing, you know what I might actually do, kassad? Just because that guy's been so obnoxious over the years, I might do what is necessary, but I've learned only I can slay the demons like Jake Lucky and like Frank. Oh, sorry, I did that out loud. You know, people who are rude in the scene. Only I can do it, so I'll just have to be the one who goes and chronicles the billion times he was wrong and talking out of his ass and making shit up and just saying stuff that, like, the best ones is the ones where they just do, like, they're so dumb, these journalists, this is like a quick hot take now, that they don't even understand the concept of plausible deniability. Like, they'll actually do things like, this one player asked for him, and it's like, right, can you see how that could get you in trouble if that one player was like, but I didn't? You know what I mean? Can you see how you haven't painted yourself into a corner on that one? You haven't even left what you say, dumb fuck. Go and read a women's magazine is sources close to the player say, and then the joke is the source is you, isn't it, you twat? So anyway, whatever. Go back in time, start at the beginning of the show. We are here for Hot Take Point Made. Right, Maui, do you have one to start us off on?
Before we start, okay. Duncan, I watched that video about Frankie. It was so good, I watched it twice.
Okay.
I watched it fucking twice.
Listen, I can't lie. I don't want to believe this is true. But in terms of that type of a video, it was sort of a magnum opus, wasn't it? It was sort of, you know, Michelangelo painting the Sistine Chapel ceiling. It was Chartres, Notre Dame. It was all those things, you know. But that's the thing. That's the thing about me, kassad, is I do tweets. And listen, I'm reactive. I do the emotional tweets. But when I do my work, I am fucking clinical. I am like fucking Liam Neeson in Taken. It's like I have a very specific set of skills and I will find you and I will make you pay. So listen, understand. Don't antagonize me. Don't do it.
One little anecdote, right before Maui starts. It was like, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago, you called out Yustilo for something. Like he was playing bad and you called him out for something and he was so triggered that he replied and then you did your thing. And for the next 8 months, we were fucking with him, like trying to explain that you just cast a fucking, you know, a fishing rod
right
to him, and then whoever, you know, bites the thing, he's done. That's over for him, right? He's gone, right?
It's like, brilliant, I've got him on the line. And go out a bit. Come in, of course.
We just trolled him for the next year, like with the fishing rod, just keep throwing like at him, and he was like keep catching.
Yeah. That's even why, by the way, I actually, fair play to the Greyhound boys. You taught me a lesson, which is I was wasting my time with the best fishing gear ever, and I'm one of the greatest fishermen. I'm like some Ahab level motherfucker, and I was just reeling in little minnows, and eventually I had to realise they're not even worth your time reeling in, mate. I'm trying to get motherfuckers like goats on the line. I'm trying to get get the boat, get the engine going. We're taking this bitch back to the sea. You know, back to the beach. Okay. It's all right. I'll come for you, Simple. That video's still in the queue, mate. All you need to know is this. When I commission the thumbnail, all you've got is the time before the artist makes it. When they make the thumbnail, your death warrant's signed at that point in time, mate. It's over for you. It's just a question of when do I execute? When do I get my little Grim Reaper outfit on and the scythe, and when do I come for you? Because I'm coming eventually. Anyway, Maui, do you have a hot take to start us with? Or do you just use them all on the desk nowadays? What's the deal with that, you know?
I do. They do make it on the desk, obviously, as well. But like my first one to kick it off is that if I were to make a power rankings right now, because I look at the HLTV one and it says Vitality's number 1, Heroics number 2, FaZe 3, G2 4, ENCE 5. My hot take is that ENCE is the 3rd best team right now. That's where I'm at with this one.
Okay.
And the reason is actually pretty clear. If you actually just look at, well, first of all, I'm going to discredit basically every single team that's lower on the rankings than them. I wouldn't have ranked Cloud9, Navi, Gamer Legion, any of those teams above ENCE.
I mean, they just won a tournament.
Yeah, exactly. And so ENCE just won a tournament. They won IEM Dallas, and they beat FaZe twice at that same tournament. So I find it pretty, in some ways, I mean, I get how the HLTV ranking works, but I also think it's kind of funny that FaZe is 2 spots above them, even though ENCE have beaten FaZe, not even just those twice at Dallas, they beat them a 3rd time in the Challenger stage in a best of 3 also. So for my money, ENCE is definitely above FaZe. And then if you get to ENCE G2, they haven't played each other recently, but ENCE was the team that knocked G2 out of the ESL Pro League playoffs in a best of 3, pretty convincingly at that. And when I just kind of think of comprehensive style, comprehensive structure, I would say that the way that ENCE are playing is better overall as a team than FaZe and G2. You look at FaZe and G2's players, and it's pretty tough to make the case that ENCE is better for them 1-for-1 over too many, other than Snappi. Snappi is a better individual player than, say, karrigan or HooXi. But beyond that, you'd probably take the FaZe or G2 counterparts. But I would say that FaZe's overall teamwork and strategies are what, to me, makes them a better team, and to me, the 3rd best team in the world right now.
Yeah. I will answer this one, and I agree 100%. I have to, despite the popular, narrative here.
Not G2, okay, right? Yeah, I see where you're going.
The thing is, like, it's absolutely 100% true that ENCE right now at this moment is the number 3 team behind Vitality and Heroic, and there is no doubt about that whatsoever. Like, and what's so shocking about it is because the way they're doing it, their organization is not unlimited with funding. Their organizations have the salary that are not 30K. They're not even 20K. And I know the exact salaries, obviously, but the thing is, like, they're way below 20K, and they're the number 3 team right now. You said it nicely. They eliminated FaZe. They eliminated the G2 in the Pro League quarterfinals, was it? And you know how they eliminated them? By G2 not picking Nuke. That was the pre-major thing. They picked Ancient because they didn't want to pick Nuke. That's another brilliant decision from HooXi and the rest of the brain trust there. And they got slammed on that Ancient, and they lost the second map. I think it was Vertigo or something, but it might maybe Inferno. I can't remember now. But I know it was Ancient. And that's like, instead of learning their lesson right there, they went into the major, and we know what happened. But ENCE, yeah, definitely number 3 team right now. I did some rewatching of the demos of FaZe. Outside of the individual stuff, they have nothing else to fall back on. We talked about this before. On the other side, you have players. Now that's gonna tie to my first hot take, and once we get to it, but they don't have the players that are like world-class players. Name me one that's a tier 1 world-class superstar in that team. Talented nerds, yes. Some players, good AWPer, Diha, decent rifler, and then obviously Madden, who is doing his job very well, above his, capabilities, way above. And then you have obviously Snappi, and that team is number 3. That shows you that it's not about the firepower all the time. It's not about like picking the best players, picking the right players and making it work in the right healthy way, and you're gonna get your title. Yes, they waited for some time. They lost a couple of finals. They kind of dropped out on the major very early, but in the end they won that. Dallas, they were in the next week in that ESL Challenger in Katowice, lost in the finals against VP. But I spoke to Snappi after Dallas while they were in Katowice, and it's like it's a little bit draining, and it's a little bit fucked up when it comes to the jet lags and like constant traveling, and after winning the event it's not always easy. But they managed to get into that final, and they lost it to VP. Overall, I mean, VP, as bad as they're not to be counted out so easily. But yes, number 3 right now belongs to ENCE despite the HLTV rankings, and I'm looking at them right now, and FaZe has 536 points, G2 446, and ENCE 386 points. So for me, it's not a right ranking right now. ENCE should definitely be above both G2 and FaZe.
Right, I don't have too much on the ENCE one. I somewhat agree. Basically, if people don't know, fair play to Snappi, he did the right move, which is Here's the problem. I always say, if you want to actually like fix something that's broken, you've got to complain before it obviously is just wrecking you, because then otherwise people can go, yeah, just complaining because it's hurting you. He put in work months and months ago making all those tweets where he made that meme that to get into a Blast LAN, if you're not a partner team, you have to win a qualifier into a qualifier into a qualifier, which gets you a spot into a qualifier, which helps you then qualify to, and it's like, fucking hell, mate, I've just won about 20 series in a row to get here and I can't lose one ever. And if you don't know, ENCE themselves even have to go through some fucked up like Finnish qualifier into an open qualifier into it. Like, and if people don't get it, how can you simultaneously watch the major and go, brilliant, these teams like Game Legion and Apex and the Breach are good? They're the teams that are in your fucking way, along with about 14 Russian teams you've never heard of, you never will hear of, who will fucking bury you with some kid who drops 38 kills drinking the Russian version of Coca-Cola on his perfect fucking desk, except it's a shit desk, but whatever. He's just life over there, innit, you know? They still love their kids the same over there, whatever their 80s song was. Right, so here's the thing. I do think ENCE is really good, but the reason why, kassad, it's obvious that G2 and FaZe are going to be above them is G2 and FaZe just got to be in the playoffs of a Blast. Doesn't matter they weren't relevant there and couldn't do anything. They get to be there. That gets you points. You're racking up more and more points. That's the thing that people don't talk about. Believe it or not, I actually think the biggest problem with the partner system, look, the fact it's really hard to qualify is hard, but unfortunately that's part of the nature of the fact these teams bought into this league. I think fans still don't get that. They paid money to be in this league to get revenue. So then why, it's like when Flashpoint, we did the same thing. In Flashpoint, right, if you came through the open qualifier, you could come to the season. But then, for example, if you remember that Havu team did, but then they didn't have an invite for next season. People were like, why don't they have an invite for next? They haven't paid $2 million. We just let them come in for free and win like fucking whatever it was, 250k. I think that's pretty generous. So my problem isn't that you can't qualify. I would like a LAN qualifier, for example. That's what I say you do. Combine the slots, make a LAN qualifier, because then ENCE would go there and win it probably, or Virtus.pro would go win it. You know, one of these teams that's legit would make it. My bigger problem is actually what it does to the points, because think about it. When you have these fuckers that are in the Blast system and they get 1 billion chances to qualify, and then they get to the Blast finals, already some points because it's a qualification. That's it. If you don't get it, in a way, the Blast finals is sort of like the first part of a playoffs almost, and then it goes, a two get eliminated, you go in the real playoffs. So basically, you're getting too many points in the world rankings, and that means, remember this, guys, all the invites for tournaments are based on world ranking. That's how we get teams in there. So it means if you are, by the way, G2 and FaZe, you're shit if you aren't in the top 10. You're actually like a guy in a fucking Ferrari not winning in the fucking Formula 1 against a guy in like a fucking Mini. That's how shit you are. That's why, by the way, I'll just say, people don't understand how mediocre Evil Geniuses are. They have more money than God, and they have Blast partner spots and ESL Pro League spots, and they managed to be, think about the brag. The brag contained the diss on yourself. How the fuck were they 129th in the world on your watch? At that point in time, like, spoiler, I'll be very careful how I say this. Like, you should be fucking taking some quite drastic action involving a blindfold and a fucking cigarette at that point in time, probably. See how I said that? It's too classy a reference for them, Maui. They won't even realise that technically probably breaks TOS. But don't worry about it. They don't know the reference. They don't know what I'm referring to. So here's the thing. Bringing it right back. Yeah, ENCE is really good. Their only problem, basically, is somehow they keep also blowing it at the majors. Every time they look odds on to make a top 8, they don't do it. But fair enough. They are coming on leaps and bounds. Every 2 months, the lineup looks better. Obviously, the Nerds for Valde swap was legit. Now, what I actually want to do, though, is pivot and very quickly explain something to someone about kassad, because this is where I'm so sick and tired of morons. But I actually figured this out. It's an observation I've always known, but I never formalized it. Right? Basically, there's a concept in psychology, and what it's called, kassad, is theory of mind. And it's the notion that, like, I am not Maui. I'm not inside his head. But I conjure up in my mind a notion that Maui has his own sentient mind, and he has his own thoughts and all the rest of it. But what people tend to do, unfortunately, is they just copy and paste their mind onto everyone else. That's why to them it's so obvious someone did something stupid. I wouldn't do it that way. That's why if they hear about someone that they like did something wrong, well, no, he probably just did an accident. No, they mean they did that. That's why when they go, you say, this super evil person that has access to infinite money did this, and they go, just did it for money. It's like, no, you would do it for money, you dumb fuck. You're the brokey with no money. So what they do, unfortunately, is they don't actually understand that your mind's different than theirs. So they do to you a classic move they've done to me for a million years, which is they would say, like when I had like a favorite player in Korea that was in League of Legends, they would go, ha, Thorin's favourite team, obviously, is the team that guy plays for. So they say kassad. Kassad's favourite team is G2. Right. Let's just take stock of that, shall we, cretins? I'm just going to open the ledger. He's flamed the fuck out of Huxley and the coaching staff and the org about 1 million times. By the way, here's the most genius take of all time. He's just trying to get the G2 job. That's about the worst way to ever get the job. Telling them they're shit 24/7 to their faces. And also, like I said about me with that Korean player, no, because I really loved that Korean player, my most hated team was the fucking team that had him in. They were his jailers. They were the ones putting the most useless cunts of all time next to him. They were the ones telling him to like when Simple used to be told for real by the entire West in 2017, you shouldn't be on the AWP. You are too aggressive and don't know how to place your crosshair. He's only the motherfucking GOAT, like 1% off completing Counter-Strike. But y'all are all giving him fucking advice. So no, kassad low-key despises G2. Have you ever watched it? He likes some of the players in G2. He sure as fuck doesn't like the way they play, the way they veto, the way they run the shit over there. So understand those are two very different things. So stop telling him that's his favourite team you're done for. Also, one last thing though. I'll explain to you a secret of the broadcast though. You're going to go, no, I've got your hair, Thorin though. Because just like Yanko with Mouse back in the day, he always bets on G2 when it's one of the big games. It's like, that's because predictions are fucking meaningless. When you're on the desk, you're not even betting money. There's not even any downside to losing the prediction. If you say, I think Team A is going to win and Team B wins, you still get your money. You still go, well, here's how Team B won. I thought Team A would win. You just set up that. So what Yanko told me years ago, and I agree with him, is I'm just going to pick Mouse because Nico's on the team. He's my mate. And if they win, I want to be like, yeah, I picked you. I don't want to go to the bar like, oh, well, hey, great game, guys. And they're like, but the fuck you picked the other team. Like, nah, fucking. So that scenario, the analysis is the analysis. The prediction, none of us can fucking see the future, you idiots. So there you go. Not really a hot take. The fans are morons, you know.
The thing is like people don't understand when it comes to me personally, right? I don't give a fuck like who plays for what team. Because like if my father plays for the team and he plays like shit, I'm gonna call him out. And like, what the fuck are you doing?
Cut everyone off the team, including my father.
Take responsibility and leave, right? That's what I'm gonna do. But that doesn't mean that I don't got his back. Like if he gets into trouble, the same goes with Nico. Like if he gets into trouble, I got his back. That doesn't mean I'm gonna like. Those people are paying me to say what I think. Like they're not paying me to pandering to Nico and just being a mate. You don't measure friendship by being on a fucking desk saying, yeah, I cheer for you, no matter like if you're playing shit. You don't measure friendship like that. There's other like criteriums where you may measure friendship, and that people don't understand that stuff. They don't understand. They just see what I see and they do what I do. But the only thing that I would kind of go against you on this whole argument that you just said is that how dare you call EG mediocre? That's way too much credit.
I knew it. There you go. They're really bad. Yeah, true.
Yes.
Okay. There you go. All right.
We can go now.
We have to get that out of our system now, boys, because spoiler, they're actually just signing really good players now. But I will say, even that's going to backlash because the idea was. No, but they're going to sign all those Russian players, aren't they? So obviously, the premise was they were going to be the team. We're developing talent. Just sign loads of Russians and Delige. Like, oh, what talent you've developed there, sir? Wow, where were you growing electronic all these Elige? Oh, that young rookie. Yeah. You know what I mean? Give me a fucking break. Like, it's a brilliant looking lineup, but it's not fucking talent, is it? So, right, kassad, do you have a hot take for us?
Yes. First of all, I will add on ENCE train. And, in the light of the recent results and the past work of the organization and the stuff in the team, I might say that Snappi right now is the best IGL we have. Okay. Number one IGL that we have. Like, simply, just look at the IGLs in the first top 10 teams, right? You have Heroic, Vitality, who is number one. You have Apex. Yes, he did well. Yes, their T-sides were better than they were before. Yes, he does have Zaivu, and he does have Spinks, and that's, by the way, that's the ENCE player as well, before he joined Vitality. So he's a solid IGL, but that's like saying Pep Guardiola is like the absolute manager of the year in England, which he absolutely wasn't fucking not. When you have like 7 different, managers who did very well on that season, but I don't want to go into that. But the thing is, like, you have karrigan. We discussed that. Maui knows that, and he has his takes, and we all know and we all agree what happens there. Nafani, I'm not even going to go to there. I'm not going to go towards.
Why even bring his name? I know.
Just like because I'm going through the rankings and karrigan as well. It's like all these like IGLs right now, they are not up to their standards, especially karrigan. Yes, he's one of the all-time great in-game leaders, no doubt about that. But recently, he has been dropped off. Like, he has been on his level. The team that he is leading is not on the same level, and we discussed that as well. However, Snappi, the guy who wasn't the IGL to begin with, right? Back in 2000, whatever, 13.
Yeah.
14, yeah. And he transitioned into it, and he took a break from CS. He came back. He got his shot in ENCE, and he has the players that we discussed before, like Diha, Madden, Sampayas, and Nerds. Nobody from those players are like some sort of, you would like think like, who is your ultimate lineup today? Are you gonna say any of those teams, any of those names? No. Is it gonna be a second top 5 lineup? Like, any of those players, are you gonna put them in the all-time, like, this moment, like 5 against 5? You're not gonna pick any ENCE players, right? You're just gonna pick whatever, like from G2 and Navi and stuff like that, right? Liquid, I don't even know. But the thing is, like, he has all these players. He got Spinks taken from him to Vitality, the best player. They struggled with Valde. Now they made the right change, and they constantly perform well with what they have. Like I said, their salaries are not great. The organization is super healthy, super good. They're getting the results, and finally they got the event. In the last 3 to 4 months, I think he's not by far, but he's the definitely number 1 IGL in our CSGO pro scene.
Okay. You want to take this, Maui?
Yeah. The one contest is karrigan for me. That's the only other in-game leader I would say is, based off of recent results, is probably or possibly better than him. Okay, so because I want to use your same argument. I want to use the same argument of, like, would you take anybody to be in the all CSGO first team? That's kind of how I'm trying to break that down. Like the NBA concept, just 5 best kind of in their roles. Would you take anybody from Heroic? Probably not in that first team, and probably not, well, definitely not from ENCE. And then when you say the second team, I guess there is actually a case that Stown maybe would make the all pro second team right now. And so, but I think that Snappi's working with a better opper than karrigan. So that's kind of like one of the few differences.
And karrigan is the opper. You see what he did there, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that it's a good topic because it's hard to argue wholly against it right now. It's really difficult to say like Snappi isn't, because the only other guy I have is karrigan. So I would say it's pretty much 1A, 1B for me in terms of like tactics and everything like that. Basically, what I saw at Dallas was so impressive from ENCE and from the calling. I'll still give the edge to karrigan though, because I'm going to say his CT side calling or whatever they've done as a team, I would say is better than ENCE's CT side calling, which I would say relies a little bit more on just Sunpius doing whatever he wants to do every single round. And I think they kind of built their structure around that for ENCE. So I'll say that I'll still side with karrigan on this one, but it is a very good take. It's a very good take.
51-49 maybe in your book.
I'll do like 53-47. Yeah, just
see
a little more.
You say it's hard to make a case, but I'm built for things like this. So here's the problem. Right now, there are 3 IGLs, in my opinion, you would pick. If you were starting a brand new team, you don't know what players you're getting, and you want to win tournaments. The 3 IGLs are karrigan, Snappi, or karrigan. These are the obvious 3 that you would take right now. I don't think there's anyone else that's on the table. No one else deserves to be in this conversation. But the problem is, there are pluses and minuses to all 3. So, for example, if I have to pick the one that I already like, I mean, I've already seen karrigan do it, and he's had top teams, and I think his actual general consistency, minus the semis and finals, is very, very impressive, actually. Like, there's a reason why here's what karrigan and them don't even seem to get in their team. We're not actually doing a meme from 6 months ago. Dude, at the major, we couldn't even conceive you would lose to Gamer Legion because you're the best at beating the bad teams. That's one thing, actually, I think a lot of like tier 1 pros and analysts really appreciate. We're sick of having elite teams that we tell some dickhead from Dota, well, check out this team, they're number 1. And then they just get bounced by some fucking morons at like the elimination game. We never had to worry about that with Heroic. That's why it was shocking to see Mouse taking a final from you, Gamer Legion taking a final. But aside from that, if I look over the whole 6 months, I look into last year with with the same lineup. Like, this is the guy where I could trust he's going to get to the semi-finals. I know that he's going to get through a map veto. I know that his team's going to play well. They're going to have runs even in games where they're losing. So part of me wants to pick karrigan, but I actually agree. I had a similar joke. The one thing that I have a problem with karrigan is, if he's the IGL, technically I can't blame anything he does as a player, right? But as an IGL, sure keeps calling a lot of players and saves for his AWP that's overrated. See what I did there? It's the same concept. Like, you're actually, and that is where, by the way, here's another thing. I won't make a whole thing, I'll probably do my own video on it. But like, it's actually, basically Maui's like the flak that comes out of the fucking F-16 that makes the missile explode next to it instead of on the F-16. Because if you don't know, that was even my take that karrigan has main character syndrome. I had that months and months ago. I told you guys that I think the main problem with their team is that he actually really, I told you, he doesn't want to just win. He wants to win and he makes the heroic play. It's all about, no joke, he wants every single match for heroic, the tournament trophy, to end like that Pro League. He wants to be the one who does the play, and then at the end, yeah, sure, congrats to this player, but he wants it to be, did it. It was all him. There is a part of that. I see like I'm going to do it in my video, but I see a certain sickness with some of his like camera hungriness. Because there's one thing to like the camera to play. There's almost like, he is like that fucking, they love me, want me, need me. There's something a bit repulsive about that, mate. There really is. You're like one of those fucking like Roman emperors that got way out of whack and was making your fucking like horse a general and shit. Like, something fucked up about you, mate. You just want the person with the slave with the thing fanning you with the fucking massive leaves. You know, there's something wrong with that. But okay, I do think you might be the best IGL. My problem is, if you're in a final, don't trust you. Don't fucking trust you as far as I could throw you. So then we come to Snappi. Right. If you're going pound for pound with the players he's working with, Snappi is the best. He's the only one we've seen out of the two, by the way, who can actually like consistently develop talent. Remember, all these players, none of them were ever as good, barring maybe Madden when he was more of a star in like FPX. None of them were ever as good. Like, some Pius wasn't this good at Movistar. I told you he was overrated at the time. He was a one-dimensional player. The fucking Nerds guy, right? We've got to stop pretending once you see they're good, they were always good and didn't develop. Like, spoiler, Spinks just had to develop for like 9 months in fucking, or 6 months in Vitality, one of the best teams in the world. And what did Snappi get? He didn't get that Spinks. That Spinks is the one Apex and Sonic was struggling with. He's getting Nerds and fucking Spinks from teams like Endpoint. Endpoint! If you don't know, that's like Into the Breach, some nobody team you've never heard of. You wouldn't even pretend you give a shit about. So these players don't have any experience, and he brings them in, and he doesn't just make them work. Like, remember, when they take Flames from OG to Vitality now, they're not going to tell him be the best player in the world. When they take Spinks and Nerds, they're like, we're going to make you a top 5 player in the world. That's how we're going to go to titles. That's like, mate, if you can do that, that's like, you're worth your weight in gold. You've got the fucking magic pixie dust. Like, every org wants you now. It's why I'm shocked that people like Team Liquid, G2 aren't just ringing his phone off the fucking hook 24/7.
I'll answer you that one. The thing is, like, yeah, he gets kids. He gets kids with bad habits, without a structure, without anything. He gets them in ENCE. He brings them up. He deals with all the childish diseases that I have, with the bad habits and all these things, like coming into the pro team, dealing with the personalities and egos. He grows them into these like players like Spinks is. And then there is Vitality, just plucks them, or whoever, right? Just imagine if he was in G2 instead of Hooksy.
Of course.
You know, he would use the same players who are already developed, like Hunter, like Nico. He would have to work with Monesi. Like, you tell me if is Monesi better than Sam Pius? Yes. Does he have more talent? Yes. Did he do more? Maybe not. They're about the same at some point. I don't even know. But the thing is, like, it's just very frustrating to see. Like, for example, you have Nafani, who has Shiro and Exile, and he cannot get even close to Snappi and what he does. Hooksy, oh lord. Nico, one of the biggest and the most, impactful players to ever play the game, he can't do it. And then you have Snappi, who gets Nerds and Sun Pius from Movistar Riders, and he wins Dallas, and he like plays all these events pretty well. So it's just frustrating. But to answer your wondering why Liquid is not doing that, I spoke to like I said, I spoke to Snappi after Dallas. We just chatted about different things, whatever. And I was like, I deliberately asked him, like, surely somebody's gonna come at you and just call you up. And he's like, no, I don't think so, and I'm happy here. I'm happy here. That's what he said in a private message to me. I am happy. There is no I will think about it. There is no yeah, maybe. I am happy here. So it means that he's not going anywhere.
I'll just say, I don't believe that. G2, team, keep ringing. Just keep going. He'll get through eventually. Even if it's engaged right now, don't worry. I'll make sure he picks up, okay? I'll get him like a fucking aniseed, whatever, pastis or whatever. I'll give him a couple of those. I'll tell him, think of what it could be. The boats, the cars, the women. It's your time, bro. You know, like you've put in the hard time in the match. Listen, those kids will develop on their own out there. Fuck them kids. You know my motto. Now get in there. Get that fucking Nico. Get that Mauisnake. Let's go to the top, motherfucker. Now, here's the thing. This is why, by the way, on the Snappi angle, this is why every pleb who doesn't know Counter-Strike thinks MSL was never good and I always overrated him. Because you're so dumb, you look after the fact at the names once he's developed them and go, they're just good players though. So you know everyone goes, yeah, he might have won that Epicenter, but he had Config and Magisk. Oh, you mean first of all when he was Magisk boy, and then secondly, you mean when these players were like fucking nobody. There's a reason they later got the invite to Astralis, almost 2 years later, like 1.5 years later, because he fucking developed it and showed they could be world class. Then he won that DreamHack Masters Stockholm. Spoiler, I'll play a little game with you all right now. So when he won DreamHack Masters Stockholm, it was MSL, Easy, because it always was. It was Valde. Can anyone even name the other two players?
Nico?
Notice no one's fourth. Nico's one. Now one more.
And
that was just to make a point. It was actually Kirby who was the fifth. But the point is, look at that lineup. You busted up Kirby, who wasn't even that good anymore. Easy, you all said should be cut about 3 years earlier. Valde was playing like supportive roles. And Nico isn't the one with the fucking K or the C. It's the fucking guy who basically Hunter was trying to entrap in some sort of fucked up after school session. Like, this is insane. He won a fucking like tier 1 tournament. When you can do that, like I am Dallas, that you get the props. You get the props. No, not the players. You get the props. We don't even know, like we saw with Spinks, if those players are that good yet. I saw fucking Config leave that team. Didn't see him fucking getting top 5 in the HLTV top org or whatever. I saw Magisk go over and not even be the fucking second choice for Astralis. It was Kirby first, then it was fucking Config, and then they were going to take Magisk. They didn't even have him top 2. So everyone now, obviously said, no, that's why they do get the credit. But the last thing I'll say is this. The reason why you can never exclude karrigan is because one of karrigan's problems is this. They've never ever attempted to have a really top coach. They've never attempted to do it in this team. So he's trying to do it all on his own. And in some ways, by the way, he's in the Cadian boat himself for me for that. I think he wants to do it and he wants to know it was all him. And it was his genius. And he was right with all those teams that cut him. And he was right all the... I think there's a bit of that in karrigan too. And lastly, I will also say as well, if you're in a team like his, you're not doing the same game as Snappi. There's no one you're developing. You're herding cats. You're trying one of the hardest things, which is you're working with superstar egos and you're trying to give something as one while taking something to give to the other one while going then and then going to raid. I haven't got anything left, mate, so just give me what you got. And then after all that, you know that when you run in there and create space and all those amazing players tear up, Brokey wins the 1vx, Rops does the amazing close, you know at the end of it all, even if you're in the game, every dickhead tells you should be cut from the team. But I'll tell you what, in spite of all that, even in your worst moments, your worst games, everyone's on the show saying you're not even top 5, you're not even good anymore, you need to replace Rain. After all that, every single playoff series or big match, you have a call that could go in the fucking like all-time great calls book of IGLs. Like, these are the ones that, like, listen, young IGLs, this is your dream. In the same way as a football player dreams of scoring the cup-winning goal, Roy of the Rovers, this is what you dream of doing as an IGL. Being on the stage, doing the 29th round call. You even do the call where they can't believe you're going to do it because it'd be too ballsy to lose the game like that. And that's exactly the call you make. And you just punch them in their face. And the amount of times he's now done it, he's done it every single tournament, guys, for about 5 tournaments in a row now. It's ridiculous. So here's the problem. karrigan's factor is this. The one thing he has that Snappi and Cadian don't is he can do that in the biggest pressure moments. That's where they sometimes flounder. Like, Snappi's only done it once. His problem is he gets to look good Zemu style because he hasn't been in 10 finals or 4 majors like fucking simple. He's just big and chilling like, go out in the quarters, pretty good job by me, shouldn't expect anything. Like, that's cool, that's cute, but that's why I want you in G2, so there's no excuses anymore. Now I want to see, I'll give you essentially, if this is Formula 1, I'll give you the best car, mate. Now let's see if you can win the championship. You have to actually do it now. There's no excuses, there's no reasons. So the problem is, if I had to pick between the 3, I'd probably just by aggregate take Cadian. He's been there. He's sort of better on average. He seems to have a better idea of the current meta. I don't like the IGL thing, but he's winning in spite of it anyway. I'd probably edge to Cadian personally, but I can see the argument for Snappi.
Listen, just to add to this. First, I would love to see Snappi in a Formula 1 car, like, the G2. Because if Hooksy got the chance No,
Yeah,
the
why
real
not?
Formula.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
Hooksy got the chance, why Snappi shouldn't get one?
I
Because
mean, obviously, he
can
wouldn't
get-
actually be the Formula One guy, of course.
Yes, he can get the more money that he is getting in ENCE right now, and
Yeah.
still be under the budget in G2.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that for 100%. Right? If Alexi got the chance, why shouldn't Snappi get one? Right?
Yep.
I don't want that for Madden, because then the ENCE is going to be in trouble, and then that's a whole other thing. But I do disagree with the karrigan working in the hardest environment, because FaZe doesn't have an ego. Like Rain doesn't have an ego.
Are you kidding me, mate? You're going to do this bullshit now where you've had beers with him. I'll tell you right now, Twist has an enormous ego. It's just he has a very interesting one. You know what, Robs? He has a very clever kind of ego. And I tell you what, Brokey, the joke is, mate, he'd just actually open up once and tell us something in an interview if he didn't have an ego. They all have an ego, mate.
No. I mean, everybody has some sort of an ego, Brad. I don't think they have a problematic ego. Rain
okay, fair enough. Right, okay.
Whatever it needs to be done. Robs can be worked with. It's not like he's gonna be defying.
No, this is fair enough. Yeah.
The thing is, like, he doesn't work on the hardest possible conditions. Like, if you working, for example, like Simple would be difficult, right? Because the way he is, but then he is compensating with like tremendous skill and being the best of all time, right? That would be difficult because sometimes he would just not understand that not everyone can do the things that he can do. But anyway, FaZe is not that type of team. They don't have those problems. I'm 100% sure on that one. The second point, yes, karrigan can make a tremendous call that you can write down in the great book of, the big calls or whatever. But on that very same call, he has about 6 bad ones in the very same map. If you look at the demos, you can find at least 5 or 6 bad ones that absolutely make no sense to me at this point. Because there is so many and people that is going to be dumbasses now. Yeah, but you can see the X-ray and you can see the demo and it's easy to be the general after the fight. It's not that hard. I was there. I see the game and I understand, right? So in those situations where he makes the great call, those calls are great. Don't get me wrong. But there's like 5 or 6 calls that are absolutely bad. Simply because, you know why? Because he doesn't have a support from a proper coach. He doesn't have that behind him. And that, we tied to your point, is like that he wants to do it all alone for some reason for many, many years. Yeah, he had that guy in Mousesports, Raging or whatever his name was. And they were working fine, right? They won that 5 events, whatever that was. And he's a normal
coach. He was
coach.
bringing some stuff as far as I know.
He was a tactical coach, somebody who was like involved. Why didn't you do something like that in FaZe as well?
Great.
What's stopping you? Roban is doing his own thing. He's good. From what I understand from Nico back in the day when he was in FaZe, he said that Roban is a must-have a personality around you because he's always like a positive presence in whatever is happening, no matter how hard the situation. So I'm not bashing on Roban right now because he's all right in my book, right? But when it comes to the tactical side, why don't you just bring someone who can bring you? And they lost their analyst, that guy Inner something.
Shine.
Can't remember.
Shine,
yeah. And the thing is, like I said, on every big call, yes, but if you can do this yourself, if you are capable of doing this, making these tremendous calls, why would you not make it easy on yourself and have like multiple calls with the help from your coach who can, in the stressful situation where you don't have the solution, call a timeout for you and explain, listen, they're doing this, we need to counter it with this, and we're gonna, in the next 2 rounds, we're gonna go with that. And then you open the path for karrigan to get more of those legendary calls instead of just only fucking one. Right, yes. That's my problem, and that's why I cannot say that he's the best right now. Is he one of the greatest of all time to do it in CSGO? Yes, obviously the results are showing. Nobody's denying that, but right now, this is the problem.
Well, here's the thing. This leads into my hot take. So here's the thing. I agree with you, but that's also why, that's a key point people aren't going to think about. Here's my hot take. So all the fans want karrigan replaced because, again, they think that Counter-Strike is like a matchmaking game. And what happens is Rops is doing a great job doing whatever the fuck he does, and Rain does his thing, and Broken. And so you just replace karrigan with a better fragger, you'll be a better team, you'll win all the tournaments, right? No, because the one reason I just showed you, karrigan and KD and the Snappi don't have yet the winning touch in the way karrigan does when he's in a big final and he has the big teams. That is the last thing you complete as a great IGL. Everyone starts with the playbook and the talent, and then you work with team play and you get a map pool. And then at the end, the funny thing is, I actually do think FaZe has been pretty scoffed the last 3 months. So as a result, karrigan's doing shit like every fucking tournament and a half, you flip the whole veto. You go with a different fucking second rotation ban. You actually let them pick into your stuff that you don't even necessarily want to fucking... What am I going to do against that? You have to do a miracle call. One of his problems, in my opinion, as an IGL, so here's the hot take. If you replace karrigan with anyone else, you can pick anybody you want. You can have karrigan if you want. Pick any other IGL. This FaZe lineup, the other 4 players and the same coach won't even be top 3. They will not be ranked top 3 in the world. And here's why. Because first of all, like I say, he's been working on desperation mode. Because when you have these players as well, here's another flaw of karrigan back in the day. Right? Back in the day, the reason why even karrigan couldn't handle the big superstar ego phase, the one where everyone had been like a top 2, 3 player in the world sort of type guy, minus Rain, was because back then, he was like the player's IGL, where he's like, I want my stars to be happy. That's why stars always played well. The problem with that is this. Everyone knows this. In a big match, you have to sometimes be able to say no to a star player. You have to sometimes say to a star player, this is, by the way, what YEKINDAR needs so badly, and there's a take coming about that later. He needs someone to tell him, bonehead, stop that now. It's not working for you. It's not going to work, and we can't throw away this half. Like, just come and work with us on a thing, or someone's going to go with you, or you're going to play like a fake or something. What you're doing isn't working, and you're actually losing the game for us now. Yeah, you won us those other rounds, brilliant. That's always been my biggest problem with karrigan. I feel like he gives his players too much rope. And as a result, yeah, it's easy to look and go, well, there's no way he could have called what Rops did there. Rops did an amazing look. Yeah, sometimes you have to take that time out and go, Rops, this ain't one of those games, mate. Like, you're not getting those lurks off. You're never even putting pressure on them. You're just baiting, and all you're doing is saving an A kit. It's not even an AWP. Like, we can't keep doing this. Like, it's not worth it for the 1 round you win. Like, some games you're off on that. And I think sometimes trying to be a good guy, because he also, that's his version. Like, I'm going to make the genius calls, but you're all going to do the genius plays. And at the end, we all won as a team. Sometimes you gotta be a bit more of a disciplinarian. So here's the thing. Notice the conditions I made. You're not allowed another coach. So whatever IGL you bring in gets no coach. They're not getting any time out from behind. Time out. They're not getting any like second set of eyes. They're just having Roban going, guys, calm down. Like, play together. We can still win. So whatever IGL you guys pick, they've got to have the same 4 players, which, by the way, I never saw Rops play like this before he got into this team. I never saw Brokey hit this height before he was in this team. I didn't see Rain winning MVPs in the past with fucking Cold's era and those bonehead lineups with all the million people that Nico and Yanko thought were. I never saw any of that shit. And at Twists, the joke is everyone was actually happy. All you dickheads on Reddit were happy Fallen replaced Twists. You were celebrating and getting fucking party poppers out because washed Fallen replaced Twists. You couldn't see what Twists had. Now you all tell me he's the GOAT. Funny how fucking things change in it. So there you go. There's my hot take. Put any other IGL now and you're not allowed to do anything else. They have to just be karrigan. Let's see if they can make a team top 3.
Yeah, I agree. Like, if anybody else joins FaZe, it would be very difficult for them to accomplish anything higher than they already did, right? They would hardly be in even top 5, simply because the karrigan's impact is very high, but he's making things hard for himself. That's the problem. And if you're doing that for yourself, then maybe you are not as great as we think, right? Because the good leaders will delegate. The good leaders will make it like,
Sometimes. All I'm going to say is this. Your boy Glave's rocking on like fucking 4 or 5 years now, mate. Is he going to be 10 years deep before we all admit he's actually just not that good? Like, what is it? What am I waiting for here? Well, you don't like that, do you? When your fucking Jesus gets taken off the cross and they show you he's a man. Yeah, you don't like that, do you? What about that good leader, eh? Well, he's more like the fucking good leader, like a fucking North Korea style, bro. Yeah, he needs to be deposed, this tyrant, whatever.
But the thing is, like,
it's not take point made, boys.
The Glaze is another subject. Did you see what that organization did with that
team?
True,
that's true, sure.
They fucked them over completely with everything they did.
Yeah, and he was like, you know what? I'll have players. And he was like, sign me up for 4 more years.
Yeah, it's just...
Everyone makes bad decisions is my point. Everyone makes bad decisions. Yes, so let's not hurt each other by lashing out. Let's all bring it back. Yes. It's all friendly.
Anyway, when it comes to Robs, you mentioned Robs. Like the way that you calm down Robs in the timeout, he's like, yeah, you call a timeout, listen, Robs, right now we need you to be more active. Right now in the lurks, just please be more active because we are not getting the value that we get from your usual plays. They seem to be waiting for you. They seem to be over-rotating fast and you're not getting the lurks. It's going to cost you, I want you to be more active. And it's going to cost you a few lives and a few deaths, but we're going to win a few more rounds and then we're going to win the game. That's what I tell him in the timeout.
Yes.
Be faster in holes, be faster in the door, in the lurk, and that's what you do right now. It's gonna cost you, count on that one. We're gonna win the map this way. And then we win the map, and he's gonna say thank you. He's not gonna say, "Oh, why did you say me to die?" Right? That's how you do with those things. Instead of, "Yeah, guys, we need to play better. We need to stick together. Our communication is bad." Yeah, my fucking grandmother can tell you that. Right? So those are the little differences, right? But overall, yeah, I do agree. If anyone else joins FaZe with the same lineup and the same coach, it will be the below 5. And what FaZe needs to do right now is, I love Rain, I do love him and everything that he has done, but they need to do what Vitality did with Dupree. It's time for an upgrade. It's time for an upgrade. Thinking about the future. Even Brokey. If I'm Brokey's on T9 for me. Like very thin ice. Okay. If I'm karrigan right now.
You mean if you get like a proper AWP instead, like a traditional AWP or something, right? Yeah. I could see that.
It's like, instead of, because he's on T9 because he's not performing well. If I'm karrigan right now, if I'm Roban right now, if I'm anybody who is involved heavily with the CSGO team, I cut my break short. I say, listen, we need to improve on this. We're gonna do it like this, and I lay out a plan. The break is gonna be short.
Listen, I love the idea. I know abstractly what you mean, but all I'm telling you right now is that would be a scene out of a James Bond movie. He's retired. He's in the Maldives. The seaplane comes in. Like, who was that? They come out with the FaZe jersey on. You got to come back immediately. We've got to start. Look, I get it. You're right, but there's no way. They're all off me.
I know there is no way, but the argument is, the argument is like, listen, you're gonna cut your break short this time. Right? You're going to start thoroughly. You're going to fucking do what Michael Jordan did after he lost that fucking final against, who was it, Detroit, or I don't even remember. You cut your break short because I, as a karrigan, I want to be remembered as the best IGL of all time. My team wants to be remembered as the best team that played CSGO before we switched to CS2. Right? I want to be that guy. That means that this year, your break is going to be shorter. You're not going to be in the Maldives. You're not going to be in the nightclubs. You're not going to be playing fucking Valorant or whatever it is that you're playing right now. You're going to cut it short. We're going to fix your problems right now, and we're going to go into the next part of the season. We're going to win everything that's going to be there before we go into CS2, and that's how we're going to do it, instead of just laying back and hoping something will resolve. This is what I want to do. This is what I would do if I was FaZe, if I was G2, if I was anyone else that has the unlimited amount of money like they have.
If I'm karrigan right now, I'm definitely just gearing up for Cologne, because that's probably going to be the last big event in CSGO. So, I mean, to get back to your point, though, Thorin, about if anybody else were in karrigan's shoes, would they do as well?
You've got someone, so who are you going to tell me? Come on.
No. I think that when you say you can't change the coach, that's when it's just really, really hard to pick anybody, because karrigan to me is like more or less doing it by himself. That's why I didn't vote for Roban is my coach of the year, despite the fact that everybody's like, but he won. But it's like,
I mean, to me, the joke is like, like, I don't know if you know the saying, like people say in NFL, Peyton Manning was like the coach, but he was the quarterback as well. That's what karrigan's trying to do, in my opinion. That's why I say, I think, he's trying to do it both at the same time, That's why look, if he wins, he gets the ultimate credit. But like we're saying, you can just do it easier, mate. You're in FaZe.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're just swapping out IGL for IGL, I don't think there's anybody that can actually do what karrigan's doing on that team, because he also just kind of creates these agreements with everybody on the team. It seems like everybody's so on board with just what they need to be contributing, where they're able to get their own, but also able to find maximum value as a teammate. And that's where, for FaZe and for karrigan for that matter, he's in a unique place, because I don't think really anybody else as an in-game leader has to draw up all of these kind of agreements and almost contracts between individuals saying, you have to do this so we can succeed in this way. Like we said, with Ropset and how he's playing a little bit more aggressively right now, he was not doing this on any of the previous rosters. Even when he was playing with karrigan before, he wasn't doing this on that old Maus lineup. So he's actually created a style that is pretty much, is in some ways kind of unique, because they don't actually bring all the new tactics all the time. It just feels like every single round, it's like pulling blood from stone with karrigan, where he's just trying to extract the absolute most in terms of team output he can from star players, which sounds almost counterintuitive, because you think if stars kill, they should win, but sometimes it's to their own liking, or it's in a way that's actually more selfish and doesn't think about the whole macro picture. But karrigan's one of the people that can put it all together and actually orchestrate a great performance as a unit, whereas if you left most of these players to their own devices, they would do something a little bit more selfish, a little bit more stats driven. So I kind of thought, my gut reaction actually to who it would be was actually Apex Zonic combo. But when you said then coach, I'm like, okay, I actually think that it's pretty difficult, because when I actually look at a team like Vitality, I think of how much Apex was able to get out of a Dupree that is like on his last legs. Like he's barely holding his mouse against some of these kids, and yet he still has a way to put Dupree in situations that make him valuable as an individual. I will say that with just Apex, I can't in good faith say you go in for karrigan's spot without a good coach behind him and do what he's doing though.
Right, go on then. Do you have a take, Maui?
Yeah, this is a little bit away from the professional scene. It's kind of just about the future of the game. It's kind of just a prediction I want to put out there because I just think that there's no other way. And it's like I don't even know the coding behind CS2 to that degree. But I'm just gonna say right now, I don't think that they're gonna use subtick in pro matches. I think that it's gonna be 100. I think that they're just gonna go back to the 128 tick because having played enough CS2 now, I will say that it's really difficult to find a way that they're going to make subtick work and for movement to feel as good as it did in CS:GO. So it's like a general prediction based off of the fact that I think I kind of explained it on Snake and Banter, and I'll just kind of reiterate it a little bit here. Is just that with subtick, it feels like what they're doing is they're like delegating certain amounts of tick rate to certain types of actions in the game. And the way that feels to me when I play is that during a gunfight, they're going up to 128 tick, 256 tick, but you can tell when you're away from opponents and when you're just kind of carrying out movement actions, you're like probably moving at like 32 tick. And I just feel like if you have a consistent 128 tick where everything is responding at the same level, then I think that's just going to play out better on a professional scene. And so I just think that that's why in some ways probably when CS2 was announced and they announced subtick, you know, FaceIt, ESEA, whatever, all those platforms were probably a little bit scared of like, it's like, oh, is this going to make our servers out of date or anything like that? No, I think that FaceIt is going to still, and because it's just going to be FaceIt, I think moving forward, FaceIt is going to still play an incredibly valuable role in this space because the 128 tick experience is not the same to me as the subtick experience. It feels different. It feels worse to play on subtick.
Okay. I don't even really have a take on that. Do you have anything to say about that, kassad?
Not really, because I'm not really understanding some of the things that he's like trying to explain because I haven't really paid attention to it.
Oh,
so I'm not gonna pretend that I'm like some sort of expert on that. But I can say that these people in Valve have 10 years of experience at least, right? When it comes to the CS:GO. When the CS:GO came out in the 2012 or 2013, when was it?
2012.
We had a terrible game. We already spoke about it multiple times. We had a terrible game. Multiple people said, including Zonic, like, you know, this is just a garbage. Nobody will play this. Like, and things change. Like, things get better. Like, it's still not perfect. There is still like terrible things in CS:GO right now in terms of the game itself, but they do get better. I do think it's gonna be the same thing when it comes to the CS2. Things will, flourish, things will develop, things will get advanced as they did with CS:GO. And I don't think right now the first version of this CS2 has way too many flaws, right? It really does, but it has good sides like the sound, like, the smoke things. I do like it, right? And then you see that in the first patch it was that grenade and it dispatches the smoke for a few seconds, then they patch that, it's like a little less right now. And the small changes like that up until the point we can get it in the competitive tournament, I believe it's going to be fine. I don't think it's going to be terrible, I don't think it's going to be perfect, but it's going to be just enough to start it off, and then we're going to be using, they're going to be patching it up and like progressing. It's the same thing we did in CS:GO. Remember the sound of the fucking AK in the beginning of CS:GO and like all the maps,
it was abusive to your ear, yeah.
It was just so bad. And like things develop, and I think the same thing is going to happen with CS2 over time.
Right.
I don't know how much time will be there, but it will happen.
You know what? I didn't have a hot take, but now I do have one. I'm going to spin that into a hot take about Valve. This is mainly for you, Launders. I love you in some ways, but what I've learned about you is this. You're the aggregate of the 5 people you spend the most time around. So when you're with me, you become kind of cool. You become a bit based. You get into the cool topics. You get deep. You actually get legit. You must be around fuckboys all day, mate, because your takes are so bad. That take where Launders, who, if you don't know, came from the KZ community, the jump maps, where you're using all the air movement and they're really hard. We're not even talking talking about Forest doing just surf maps, you plebs. That's not even movement. That's just fun. Launders was playing the maps where you have to like do the max air accel jumps over and over. And if you fail, like you have to go back a step. And it's like they're a nightmare to play. It's basically like that scene from fucking The Dark Knight Rises where you have to run and jump onto that rope, etc. That's what you're just doing for fun. So Launder's main shit is movement, right? And what was his take to Valve saying, oopsie, we fucked the whole movement. And we promised, we haven't even done it yet, but we promised to fix it. He goes, I saw a movement section get added to the patch notes and my eyes welled up. Bro, everyone in fucking CSGO has battered wife syndrome. They've been so badly neglected and abused by Valve that when they just bring you a shitty, half-dead dandelion and half an eaten box of chocolates, you go, oh my God, for me, oh, but I'm a piece of shit and I don't deserve anything. But for me, oh my God, oh, you never make time for me. But you come in and seeing me 2 days after my birthday, that doesn't matter. My birthday was, it's good that you even knew my birthday was. Like, thank you so much. Oh, what's that? Look, I know you were off fucking that floozy with the fucking cocktail dress daughter too all year long, but now I get some attention. Do you want to see the kids? No, it's okay. Well, I'll tell them about that at Christmas anyway. Like, that's what y'all are like, because I'll just tell you a few facts. Valve never made Counter-Strike. You know the greatest FPS, TAC FPS of all time? They didn't make it. A guy called Gooseman made it. They took it from him and shit all over it and made stupid nerfs for literal peons that made the game less skilled. They didn't do any of the good shit in it. They didn't even invent the maps, you dumb fucks. They didn't invent Dust 2, Inferno, Train Nuke. Those were invented by like fucking community people. But because of the SDK, as far as I know, Valve just gets to take it from you. And yeah, they give some money back, but they are fucking gangsters. That is how they work, okay? So there's the thing, right? They didn't make CSGO. Now everyone's going to go, yeah, but they fixed CSGO. Why was it broken in the first place? That is the point I am making about Valve. You always let them beat you and then give you a hug. Like, I don't have to beat you, baby. You know, come on, like next time, let's just agree to do what I say next time. That's what's like. They gave CSGO out and they even had the gall. I remember these things because I've got the memory, motherfuckers. You don't remember, you weren't there. They were saying in all the interviews, don't worry, CSGO isn't CS2. That's why it's not called CS2 and it's not a replacement for Counter-Strike. It's sort of like a side game within the franchise, and even a main reason for making it was to port it to the Xbox console. You fucking clowns. So I'll tell you what CSGO was. It was a cynical cash-in on the name Counter-Strike that they farmed out to Hidden Path Entertainment, the people who fixed their broken game Source that was broken for about 6 years at the professional level with fucked up things in it. Valve made one game. They made a game called CS Source, and it was the worst of the fucking bunch. It had the most bugs. It was the most neglected. They never gave a flying fuck about this game, and they forced it on tournaments. The only reason CGS ran that and World Cyber Games ran that is because Valve told them you have to. If you want the license, you got to do it. Like, they fucking strong-armed that shit. They hated 1.6 because they didn't make it. It was this fucking red-headed stepchild in the attic. They just wanted to deny it ever existed. Then their child came along, and their child was so special, it licked every window clean on the boss. These motherfuckers don't know how to make a great game. All they know how to do is take someone else's shit and fuck with it. So they've done a million things wrong already in the CS2 beta. They gave you one map, Dust 2, the map you all cheered when it was removed forever from the competitive pool. And that's the only map. Then they gave you Mirage, but one that you can climb on the fucking roofs like CS Italy, CS 1.3. You shit clowns. You don't even understand what a skybox is in 2023. Kassad's giving you credit like you've been watching this game for 10 years. You don't know fucking shit about this game. You know absolutely nothing. You're the cretins who looked at the game and thought, you know what the game needs? Less bullets in the AWP mag. What the fuck are you doing over in that office right there? Are you an overdrive throwing the fucking... Are you playing the pinata? It's whacking away at shit. You don't know what you're fucking doing. So that I don't give a fuck. Then how about this? Everyone gives them credit correctly because they fixed Cobblestone and Overpass. In fact, Overpass, one of my favourite maps. They were so bad at release as to be laughable. If you don't know... Go and watch the game of Nip versus fucking Cloud9 at ESL Clone 2014. That version of Cobblestone, if you think it's already a joke that everyone just goes B, the B site just had an open broken wall that people could shoot over. It was beyond a fucking joke. Then you had Overpass where everyone just sat in the fucking A site. You never ever progress out. You just sit in the A site, they have to come. That's how they were having majors and shit. And then, what did they do when they made those two maps? They forced them into the pool for the first time ever at a major and introduced a third map randomizer, which meant, are you ready? you can veto one of them, and it's possible you can still get the other one in the third map. And that happened in 2 massive playoff series of NIP. And that, as a result, is how NIP won that major. One of the most fraudulent major wins of all time. They only were able to do it because it was bullshit maps. And then, I'll give you one last detail. When Valve fixed the competitive format, remember, they used to make it so if you won the BO1s, you went to the playoffs. If you lost the BO1, you play a BO3 elimination match. That's how you solve what plebs want. Because a shit team goes, I never got a BO3. You put the BO3 for elimination, for qualification, you dickhead. The reason why Fallen made the playoffs of 3 majors in a row is he just won 2 BO1s. That's a little dirty secret you don't know, do you? He won 2 BO1s and got bounced out of all these majors because his team couldn't win a best of 3, but the literal world championship didn't emphasize that. And so we were telling him in 2015 he's the fucking GOAT because he's getting there with nobodies. You put the best of 3 there so that only the best teams can make the playoffs. That's how you do it. So this is Valve. What Valve does is they essentially punch you in the nuts and you go, oh, and then they go, it's all right, here's some nice tea. Oh, that's soothing. Why do they need to do it? How about from the beginning just be awesome? How about liaise with the community? By the way, I know you're all fucked in the head when like Flom. You think it's cool they neglect you for 7 years, then throw a few baubles your way. And you go, stop being mean to the devs. You mean the ones we paid billions of dollars? We shouldn't expect anything from them. We shouldn't expect like communication. We shouldn't expect them to know things like that the player break happens. Maybe put the game coming out then. They shouldn't expect them to know things like don't put the major right after a player break. That ruins competitive. We shouldn't expect anything. We should just accept whatever they give us and then kiss their feet. I've got more self-respect than your motherfuckers. I ain't like that. And I can bounce to my other... I came from Quake, dickhead. There's another little detail you don't know. Do you know the game Counter-Strike comes from Half-Life? Do you remember? Which is the game Valve made. Oh, except that's right. Valve... Are you ready? Another detail y'all don't know. Half-Life is using the Quake 1 engine. They didn't even make the engine of the game. So all they made was a dickhead with a crowbar going around smashing people's heads in. I even do that better on my desk work. So there you go. One of the all-time rants there. That could be a fucking Thorin thoughts in itself. You get that one for free. There you go, for free. If you want careers, you don't have to jump in on that. I'll just stick with how I am. By the way, I've told everyone this story. I've mugged off a fucking Valve guy to his face and then literally turned to the DreamHack guy and said, don't ever put me in a room with this idiot again, walked out. You don't understand, mate. When they make the movie of my life...
Who's going to play you?
Probably at Jeremy Piven. That's a pretty good call. I'm just saying that is a pretty good call. He's sort of been working for it his whole career. If you notice the roles he takes, I'm just saying he's the only one who could pull off the ego. You know what I mean? But he probably does have a heart of gold behind the scenes. So you know he could do both sides. I think kassad. He could do both sides. Do you have a hot take, kassad?
I just I don't know if I should tag along on this one. The thing
if
is,
you got something, come in.
No, the thing is, like, yes, I do agree. There's some multiple bad decisions when it comes to, you know, Valve and the CS:GO and all these things. Like, you mentioned some names. I don't even know who those people are. Like, the people who made the maps, I have no fucking clue who those people are.
Don't worry about it.
The thing is, like, I don't even know. I didn't even know that they took the maps from those people, or I didn't know shit. But the thing is, like, they made some bad calls, yes, over time. Why people are still, you know, happy to talk nice. I'll give them credit is because I believe people are just grateful to be a part of this world, right?
Yeah, that's the difference between me and them, kassad. I ain't grateful. Nobody gave me any of this shit. I wasn't even a pro player. I took everything for myself. I made myself. You know, at the end, I did this. When I won an award, I thanked myself and my own hard work and my own diligence and never quit. I never thanked all of you and all fucking peers. I did that shit. Why would I be grateful? Mate, I am owed what I got. I'm not grateful for any of that shit.
No. There are people that are grateful. And there are people who are just talking shit just to sound nice to other people.
That's true.
People on Twitter.
Yes.
Like,
it's a very safe thing to say, of course. Yes, true.
That's two different things. Right? People are grateful, like, oh my god, I'm living this fucking privileged life because of this video game. And yeah, who fucking cares if they're doing this or that? That's the one side of it. The other side is, yes, I do agree. If we are paying people like you, Maui, me, anybody from the community that plays Counter-Strike, they buy skins, that does all these things, and we are just giving that money back to that company, we would expect more of a communication, like you said, open, like more, at least like more fluent than it is.
Even I always say this: you can even do the same move. Just explain why you did it. I just like to know the reason why. I never get it, you know.
Fine. Like what happened? I don't know if it happens in Rio. I didn't see a Valve representative. I don't know if they were on blast, Maui. There because you were there and
there were some people from Valve there. Yeah,
having open talks with the talent, with the TO, with the players, with all these things, then explain like, listen, we are doing this because we want to do this in the next year. This is why the reason for it. Because right now we are in the dark and we're just like looking at this new mirage and new smokes and just like zombies, right? It's just fucking crazy. But like I said, there's two types of people. One is they're really grateful that to be in this kind of environment and do it, because CS did change my life. I am not gonna lie, it did. Maybe my life would be even better if I didn't touch CS, but maybe it would have been worse, right? I don't know, but I'm happy what it did for me. So, but also there are other people who are just like talking shit and on one side and just talking completely the other, taking 180 on the other side. So it's just bullshit anyway. So whose turn is it?
I find myself really just incredibly grateful for being in this space, but I would say that it's
thanks me then. Thank me, not fucking Valve, mate.
Yeah, I would think Thorin. I mean, I would think people that obviously brought me in, but I'd also just say that's, but the communication thing is to me the most salient point here, where it's basically that's why people liked Overwatch. That's why people liked Valorant in the beginning, because the patch notes were read by, I forgot what the guy's name was at Overwatch, but you know what I'm talking about. Dude that was just telling everybody, this is why we changed all these things. It made it seem like the game had direction, even though the direction that Overwatch went into was clearly not the right way to go with it. It's a game that in some ways necessitates more change regularly, whereas for Counter-Strike, they basically could just leave it alone, and if they just said that, then it would have been totally fine also. But with Valorant, that's that was their big selling point, and that's why the grass was so green at the very beginning, because it's hey, we're listening to the pros, and we're actually making patch notes with the pros in mind, and we're explaining exactly the kind of dialogues that we're having with them. So I do wish Valve were a little bit. Actually, I wish they were much more clear about everything.
Why would they twice a year they would bring people from the pro scene into their offices and talk to them about what needs to be improved, what needs to be better, what is still good, what can remain the same, twice a year?
I've got some bad news for you. I'll tell you why they don't do it. Because you're all being way too egalitarian. They are God because of the intellectual property rights they own. They can even, I don't know if you know this, Kassad, they could literally, not a joke, tell everyone in the Balkan region, like Relog Media, you're not allowed to run tournaments in our game. And they would literally legally not be allowed to run a tournament in the game. They can do that. They could actually say to you, in theory, we revoke your license to play the game. You're essentially leasing the game when you buy it. You can't play the game specifically anymore. If we find an account, we'll ban it. They can do it. So here's the problem. I've actually met these devs and I know behind the scenes what they're like. And unfortunately, even Valve, they are all mega up their own arse. They do think of themselves as it's the other way around. You should be grateful that you guys invested your whole adult lives into our game. You should be grateful that you did that. Now, look, I never gave you any of the money. I never gave you a chance. I didn't even know who you were. You just did it yourself off your own bat. But you should be grateful to me because I sort of published the game. That's what they all think. So to them, by the way, they're already being kind enough. They already don't care about CSGO, mate. They like Dota 2. That is the shit. That is who Valve is. That's who they are, mate. So they just don't give a shit. So come on, Kassad, what's your last take?
They made a first step. At least they were unhappy with the closed circuit and the partnerships. At least that's something, right?
I mean, they could just put some fucking money of their own into the circuit. You could do that for a start. Then we won't need a partner system.
The Richards the article, I think he mentioned that there was in Paris there were talks and they were unhappy, and that's something. If they change, they influence that to be changed. That's good, right? Because when it comes
depends
to
if you want big orgs, mate. Some big orgs will leave the game. I'll tell you right now. I saw this at Flashpoint. Massive orgs will leave CSGO with no partner system tomorrow. They'll drop their team and they'll leave tomorrow.
But fuck them then.
Well, then here's what you'll have, Kassad. Are you ready? Endpoint will be in every major. You will have fucking Giants at every major. Movistar Riders every major. Do you want those teams being the ones that have all the top teams? Then all the salaries. Are you ready? Then the salaries.
Remain.
And they'll be paid half as much. All the money comes from VC, mate. Take away the VC. Now all of a sudden, Nico makes $8,000 a month. Is he cool with that? Would he be in favour of that?
Yeah, but what's he going to do? What's he going to do?
No, listen, I get it. He would have to play just like the old... If you don't know, by the way, Forrest used to play for 1,300 euros at his peak in 1.6. Now, I don't want that world for him, though. I want sort of a middle ground. I'm with you. I want a better circuit, but I understand why they've had to make the deal with the devil and do the partner system. It's good for you.
Duncan? Yeah. What about this? They have 12 teams in the Blast.
Yep.
12 partner teams. Why don't you introduce 4 more spots? You don't have to give them revenues. So the people can cloud nine, people like ENCE can qualify to these events.
I'm with you on that.
Any
That's where I think,
revenue.
unfortunately,
Just
Refresh.
let them fucking compete.
The problem with that is
them
Blaster
compete.
Bozos, but that's just Blast.
Well, that's another
You know?
thing.
That's
But
another topic.
even ESL allowed too many teams to go into Pro League. Even we have Uber agreement teams.
Sure.
They can get into Pro League. Blast doesn't allow that. They have 12 teams.
Yep.
They meet with each other every single fucking time, and it's fucking bullshit with the triple eliminations. They get the points. They stay on the ranking spot, and they just fucking do whatever the fuck they want. Introduce 4 more spots. You have the money for it. It can be online. It can be LAN, whatever. Don't give those teams a revenue share. Keep it the same. The org owners won't matter. And just fucking let them compete. And that's it. That's the simplest solution.
Right, we need your take now. Give us your last take.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, this is a little bit more serious take, and it has 2 sides of it. I have to be really careful how I phrase this because it's a very sensitive matter, and it comes to it kind of refers to mental health right now, and that has been deteriorating in our community quite a bit. And I think that orgs and TOs and everybody, I'm not really going to go into offensive on the orgs and just call them incompetent about this one or anything like that, like I do in the past when it comes to the structure and everything. But we need to take the organizations to the next level so we can deal with these type of problems. We had a player take his own life from Vitality just a few weeks back.
In Valorant,
that guy was, 18 years old? I don't know the circumstances, but I assume it
No, he committed suicide.
Yeah. It was like mental health related,
Yes.
right? And then he couldn't. And that kid, that fucking really got to me in a way that that's a kid that was 18 years old. He didn't even start his life, man. How old are you, Duncan? 30
I'm 40, mate.
40. So I'm 37. Are we?
I'm 29.
29, close to 30. Like, to you and me, Duncan, we've been through a lot of shit.
Sure.
And we're still young people. And that kid was 8. He didn't know shit. He didn't know anything. He didn't even start his life. He didn't even experience 5% of the things he should be experiencing as an 18-year-old, 20-year-old, 25-year-old. And mental health issue, I don't know what the pressure was or what made him do this thing, but it's just one of the examples that we need to pay attention to more, because we saw in the past what happened with Obo. We saw in the past what happened with Sick.
Yep.
That is it keeps repeating all the same time. And then what pisses me off is that we need to have this collective of organizations right now, and the TOs, instead of paying, like you said, paying all these thousands of dollars to players in salaries and all this bullshit, and just commit, create a foundation or a fund or something that's going to include every tier 1 organization, from the Lure agreement, from Blast, from the ESL, and obviously the Blast organization itself, into some sort of a mental health foundation, supporting foundation, right? Where we can hire experts, where that's going to be available to the teams and players 24/7, that will visit teams on boot camps, that will visit teams on tournament, that will be able to help young kids. If we are not have the systems in place in the organizations, we will have experts in that way that will help these kids deal with the anxiety, deal with depression, deal with the real pressure they're feeling from whatever it is that is happening in their life. It doesn't really matter if it's related to the gaming or not. We just need to do a little bit more in general when it comes to the mental health. Instead of that, I'm seeing this, and I talk to these players, I talk to many of them, I see this bullshit thing where they have the salaries of $20,000, $25,000, $30,000, and they are posting pictures of them being in a business class. They're eating fucking, buying Gucci shoes, Rolex vouchers. And I know they're inside, they're feeling like shit. They have the fake smile on their face. They're posting so they can get more likes for their fucking business class that nobody gives a fuck. That's not the real issue. Instead of paying all that money to these players, help them in the real way. It's gonna mean a lot in the long run. In the short run, they will get more money. They will feel like shit, and some of them will not make it. Some of them will feel the big consequences about that later on. Sadly, we had the kid from Vitality, we had Obo, we had Six, we had and I can tell you that in our industry, in all aspects of talent, player, TOs, the people behind the camera, there is a lot of people that are suffering from anxiety, from mental health struggles right now. And we can do, the organizations can and the TOs can do more. Dedicate someone, that's not a lot of money. Dedicate some money to a mental health foundation where we can hire experts, that can help, that can go to every single big event and be there during the 7 days, 2 weeks, and discuss and call the coaches, call the general managers, visit their boot camps all over Europe, like, you know, go there, engage with those players, help them go through this shit that's going, you know, that's going to happen, because anxiety, depression is a very serious fucking matter. Like, I know firsthand how it feels to feel hopeless, to feel like there is nothing makes sense, that there is no way out of this shit, that everything is garbage, and it really isn't like that, but your head is fighting you on it. Your own brain is fighting against you, and that's the fucked up part, and you don't know where to go. You are a kid. You don't know how to help yourself. And there is no one to help you. But there are people out there that can actually guide you through this shit, right? So I would like to appeal, because we have a big platform here in our community, especially you, Duncan. Like, we have a lot of people watching this and, like, you know, listening to this, and we need to spread the word that, you know, the mental health issue is just a little bit something that we need to take a look at coming into the CS2, because this game is not going anywhere. We're going to have 10, 15, 20 years of CSGO. I mean, the CS2 or whatever comes after that. And the other games like Valorant, Dota, all these kids are the same. We're all the same. They're just children. Picture yourself when you're 18 years old. We didn't have social medias all that much, and the pressure from the outside, and like the death threats and all this bullshit that's coming at you, right? Sure. And it's just very difficult right now. It got to be. I had to say, like, when I read the news about Vitality, kid, I just it got to me for a few days. It's just like, how can this happen? Like, and what can we do to actually make it better for the future? Because not a single player, and this shouldn't repeat a single fucking time ever again.
I would say it's a bit with our scene, it's a bit it seems like it's more of a trend than you would see in, say, other spaces, other communities. And I think that stems from the fact that a lot of people turn to gaming because of escapist reasons at the very beginning. Most of the time, you're usually trying to avoid what's going on in your outer life, whether that's because you don't feel comfortable hanging out with the people in your actual nearby physically located community, or it's because you just find yourself to be an outcast. And so it's almost kind of like, if they're coming already here for escapist reasons, they probably haven't solved some other part of their livelihood. And I think that it at the end of the day, mental health comes down to the individual. But if you're in a position as an organization that has an opportunity to kind of get ahead of the chase here and actually just kind of initiate everybody to the telltale signs of you're going into a depressive state, or you are someone that experiences anxiety regularly, it would be incredibly helpful for them, those orgs per se, to try to just immediately help these people, or basically just tell them, because really the first thing that needs to be done always in a case where you're experiencing some kind of mental health related issue is that you just need to identify it. You need to like be right there. You need to like immediately catch what's going on, because once you get into those incredibly depressive states, it's much harder at that point. But if you recognize immediately, I have feelings of hopelessness, like that's tough sometimes. It's tough to be that person that actually is self-reflective enough or introspective enough to catch it immediately. And so if an org can at least put that kind of idea out there, if it were like information were more readily available, if it were more the norm to just spread that sort of information, then you would probably nip it in the bud pretty early on for a handful of cases, and that could save lives. So I think it's important with the recent passing of the Vitality player that people are once again just reminded of the fact that if you're experiencing any kind of symptoms early on, that you should look for some sort of professional help. You should at least look online about what other people are doing to try to remedy their cases, because obviously we don't want to see anything like that happen again.
The thing is, like, I can't really expect for a kid that's 17, 18, 20, to go on his way and recognize himself that he's not, well, right? And go out and seek help for that, right? I expect there is going to be like this presence that's going to be controlling you and checking up on you and reaching out to you, because I made quite a few tweets, but like, saying that, you need to reach out but it's very difficult because you don't even know what's happening to you. Like you don't know what's happening to you. You feel this way, but you don't know what to do. And sometimes people feel ashamed to say it. And there needs to be somebody outside to come to you and reach out to you and says, listen, man, how you doing?
But it's I'll give you an example, kassad. I knew someone suicidal who was a mate of mine. And when they told me way later, I said, dude, if anything happens again, just reach out to me, like call me or something. And he was like, yeah, but you're really busy. And it's like, that's what you're saying. They don't get it that like you would value the call more than whatever the fuck you do. Now drop some show and cancel. Guys, I've got to go now. I've got to talk. Of course you would. But in that state, you're right. Like they're so deep down in it that they can't even conceive of getting out of the hole.
There is nothing that would stop me if somebody would call me from my like people close to me or anybody from the like, the professional community and tells me like, listen, this is what I'm feeling right now. Like I can't find a way out right now. I'm feeling terrible. I'm dropping everything. Like everything. You drop everything. Whatever it is that you're doing, you drop it to help that people, because it will go a long way, because those things they tend to get better, right? You just when it's happening to you, you think there is no way out. That's the end. It's it's fucking doomsday. It's whatever. But they think but they're just so young and they don't understand. When it happened to me, when I felt anxiety, when I felt like, the pressure coming out on me, I was 32. That was like 5 years ago. I was 32. And it's just like, I didn't know what the hell was happening to me. I thought it was physical. And I went like to the doctors and they told me everything is fine with you. Just, you just feel like too stressed out. It got to you, right? Because of the tragedies that you have and all these things that you did, whatever, right? And that be with 32 years old. Like, just imagine somebody who was 18, put yourself in a position when you're ready, you don't know anything. You just don't know anything. And that's why we need to have something. And this is, again, I want to repeat this very clearly. This is not a strike on Vitality or any other organizations when it comes to this. This is just a idea that I want to spread out there, that we need to be more mindful and we need to take this thing to the next level, because it's our whole industry is way higher than it was 10, 15 years ago right now. And, we just need to pay attention a little bit more on that one. And I think we can do it easily with all the money that we have from these different money streams that are going into the industry, into the organizations. We can dedicate some money to get some professionals who would be able to assist in any kind of way constantly during the season, right? And during the year and all the time, pretty much, depending on how much money we and I'm sure the initiative that we would start would probably be supported even by ESL and Blast and everybody else that we obviously speak against when it comes to these different things, but it's something completely different that we should all kind of unite and like help these kids, because mental health issues, they're very, very serious thing.
Here's the thing. What I'm going to do is you guys all made your points, so I'll just fill in some of my thoughts around it. I'm not going to restate any of the things you said. Basically, I'll get the producer to put this tweet in the actual reply. I actually have a tweet which is written both from personal experience and people I know, which I think is exactly what someone who might be in that scenario might need to hear. It's the sort of thing that explains, like, essentially, like, it's never as bad as it seems, but whatever situation you're in, there's always a way through. Like, look for other things, change your environment, change your variables, change your health, your diet, your exercise, go and do small things that you can be grateful for. All these things, right? I'll tell them to put it in there. It's like a good little rant. But what I'll say is this. One of my big problems with this topic is ultimately it is the org's fault, because not fault, it's their responsibility. There's the key thing. It's not about whether it's your fault, it's your responsibility. Because as we say, this isn't a game where you have to be 21 and over. You can be 16. You can be monacy and join a team. So when you do that, you are literally taking like the fucking care of a child. That is a minor in America. That is a child at that point in time. And the big problem is this. If he was at home, it would be on his family to notice that he's in a depressive state. But he isn't at home. He's all the time traveling. He's at boot camps. He's with the team. And his family is not there when he's going through the hard times in that scenario. If it was monacy, if he was at a CS event, if he's away from home, if he's feeling bad, if he's read too many stupid comments after he lost a match and people telling him to kill himself because he lost the fucking betting skins or something stupid like that. They're not there in that moment. His support network isn't there. there. And so the team, I do think, needs to both, one, keep their eye on his state and not cynically go like Evil Geniuses did, just have him play anyway, which is what they actually did to a fucking guy who turns out has autism as well, by the way, and was never a pro before that. Absolutely disgraceful behaviour. I've noticed they didn't get cancelled out of esports like Carlos from G2. Weird how that works, isn't it? Then also, didn't get any of their partner spots taken either. Then also, you've got this whole angle that, like, because their support network isn't there, as the team org, you've got to be their support network. You've got to have people there. You've got to have a Robban type core who's a coach who can take them out and have a drink with them and go, what's going on, mate? No, not about the game. Talk to me about their life and stuff. You've got to have, this is why we always say in pro teams, they have veterans. You have a guy who can go, oh, hey, young fella, I see you getting hate from the media. Like, yeah, Dwayne Wade used to get that before. Here's how he dealt with it. So you got the guy who can give you the life experience. So one thing I'll say is this. One of my problems goes like this. People want to say this, and quite frankly, I think half the words said about this online, like everything said in public, is performative for other people to get likes and to get like a pat on the head. I am the good boy who said the right thing. So when everyone goes, yeah, if anything's happening, just talk to someone, just get therapy, bro, just take drugs, just do all these things, right? First and foremost, you don't know their situation. Please understand that, because you could actually do more harm than good in this situation. Like, here's a one for you. What if you say just get therapy and have drugs? But what if you did that already and now you're going to kill yourself? What if it didn't work? By the way, if those things ubiquitously worked for everyone, there wouldn't be a problem, would there? There wouldn't be a problem like this in the world. Also, this problem comes from how unnatural modern life is. People aren't getting exercise. They don't have a physical hobby. They don't even often have a pastime. It's rare in this case because pro gamers do, but here's the problem. Pro gamers have taken their hobby, that's their obsession, and made it their career. I can tell you right now, that's one of the best ways to suck the joy out of your hobby, to make your hobby what actually hurts you, what upsets you. It isn't just the thing you go to and do for an hour in a room like a fucking water painting of a thing and no one ever gets to see it. It's for you, and it's how it's you expressing yourself. It's not like that. It gets attached to money and performance, what people think of you, and maybe your girlfriend's going to leave you if you drop out of the fucking last two majors. These are real things that are going on. So to me, it's not as simple as say just take therapy and drugs. Like, also, the reason why those aren't the best solutions, you can already look into different studies done on all these things. They don't work for everyone. What happens is some people get better, some people stay the same, some people get worse. That's right, some people get worse because of these things. And what you have to understand is women aren't the same as men. Young people aren't the same as old people. People who are doing it because of stress at a job aren't the same as people who have no job and have nothing in life. These are totally different scenarios. And so in that scenario, it's why, for example, one thing that can help some people when they're in any kind of a depressive state is what's called CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. It's a way essentially of talking and almost like rewiring the circuits of your brain to think of certain things and do certain actions so that they become habits, and it gets you out of a funk in a certain way. It removes like a trigger point that you think this, you do this bad thing, that makes you feel even worse. Then you start drinking, then you go and and you do all this cycle, and then you're in an even worse position. Because I'll tell you one thing I'm sick and tired of right now. There are loads of casters, mainly in other games, who keep taking mental health breaks, right? And then they go, and this is not a joke, and they stream themselves playing the game for their fans, eating pizzas and drinking fucked up sodas. And it's like, bro, what is the break? What is the break? You're doing more harm than good. Take an actual break. Go to the countryside. Go on a fucking boat. Get some sea air. Have some fucking clams. Like, drink some nice wine. Have, like, fresh water. Go fucking run a half marathon. These are the things that give you the break, mate. These are the things that'll fucking lift you up and make your spirit soar. So then the last thing I'll say is this. This is why fans especially are fake as fuck on this topic. Because y'all say you want all the players to get taken care of and have the breaks. But your actions show you only want results. You want the best results and you want the biggest wins. And I can tell you right now, you're very lucky this is CSGO right now. It's already happened in Valorant, and it was years ago, happened in League of Legends and StarCraft. If the Koreans and the Chinese ever come into this game big time, this approach will actually set you behind them. And here's why. Because in their scenes, they don't have even these concepts. They don't have sports psychologists in Korean esports. If you can't hack it and you are burned out, they bench you, they replace you. They don't give a fuck about you. There are 400 people out the door ready to take your spot, ready to get burned out next. That is the world they're living in. In China, they have unlimited supply of people. They don't have to go, we've got to get this guy right because he's such a talent. They don't care. I'm sorry, they don't care. Their actions show that. So as a result, I'll tell you, they're far and away the best because they're redlining people 24/7 and because they can take a superstar player and replace him with another guy after that. Then I'll give you the example from sports, similar cultures. Do you know why all those fighters in the UFC now are god tier from Dagestan? because that is a fucking ruthless area of the world, essentially run essentially by a type of mafia. And their whole thing is like Sparta. It's like you fight in a fucking gym, and if you make it out, like Batman out of that fucking Dark Knight Rises thing, you get to go in the UFC. But you already went through the wars. You already had to be battle tested to the limit. And if you didn't make it, we've never heard of you. Similar thing, the early UFC champions all came from Brazil. It's because in Brazil, they used to spar by having real fights. Anderson Silva and Vanderlei Silva would knock each other the fuck out in training every day. Now that's terrible. You can have insanely bad jaw, you can have brain damage, you can have all, but I tell you what, you're never going to have you're never going to be hesitant in a fight. You're never going to be punch shy. You're going to go for it. So the problem is, you have to ask yourself this question, which is, do you want the absolute best level of the game, or are you willing to compromise a little lower level to have these people be taken care of? Because my thing's always this. If you're a kid, someone else has to take care of you. You don't know, like I agree, Kassad. If you're 27 years old and you want to just do some like Kobe Bryant shit, where you just wear yourself to the bone, that's your choice at that point in time. And I can't lie. Like the UFC, some people are going to like the fact that you're willing to get knocked out. They're going to like the fact that you're willing to give them an exciting fight. Problem is, I wouldn't tell my brother or my friend to do that. I would say, stay the fuck out of it, even if I watch it myself. So we're also, as a scene, we're a little bit hypocritical about that, I think.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I just want to say also that, this thing with the mental health struggles are happening in every other sport.
Oh, of course, all of celebrity, man, all of media, yeah.
Look at football, for example, right? There is a bunch of players that are coming to Europe from Colombia, from Argentina, Brazil, bunch of countries from Africa, Asia, right? They're just going there to Europe, and they're 17 years old as well. They just came from nothing into completely different culture, completely different world, trying to play under pressure, trying to perform. Surely they have the same struggles. The difference is those big teams, they do have processes in place, the FIFA or whatever, like the football associations, they have the process to notice these things. And that's the important thing. If you have a coaching staff, a full coaching staff, somebody who will notice that your guy is not quite right. Like, it doesn't have to be if you felt like his frags are dropping down or something. Like, you have the spot that he's not himself. And why is this happening? I'll give you the example from 2000, I believe it's 18, where we came back to Detroit and we practiced for a week, and I see something is completely different with Jacob. Like, I see that it's a different guy. Like, he's acting differently. He's playing. He don't practice every single map, every round. He's there. He knows the strats. He throws the smokes. But I see something is off. He is not quite himself. And one day at the end of the week, I go like upstairs, knock on his door. I was like, "Hey, dude, can I come in?" And, he says, like, yeah, just sitting on his PC, just all like bummed out and everything. And I just close the door, sit by the bed, and just ask him, like, hey, what's up? What's going on? You're not yourself. Like, what's happening? And he's like, yeah, I can't sit in Detroit anymore. I can't do it. I want to go home. I want to pack He was ready to pack his bags tomorrow and just leave. Just take the plane and leave. Just buy himself a ticket. Don't tell anyone. He'll probably tell us as players or me as a coach before he left, and that's it. He's like, I can't do this anymore. I can't sit in America. I want to go home. I can't do this. I'm feeling too stressed out, and I can't do it. So I just, I managed to talk him through and kind of convince him that, we need to stay in Detroit in America for just a short period of time. Then we're gonna go to these events and ask him, like, can you handle the events? He's like, yeah, I can do the events. I just can't be here. It's just I don't feel well, right? So it's like, hey, let's do this. Let's go qualify for. That's the before Katowice 2019, right? I tell him, like, let's go to the qualifier. Let's play these events and tell me how you feel along the way. And if we don't do anything, you just tell me, and you go home, be better, whatever. And then obviously we played well. We got to the boot camp. He was feeling really good. He played a good event, and the rest is history. 2019, we played well. The point is that I'm not a medical expert. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a fucking whoever, right? And it's just important to notice these things in your team, right? It's important to have somebody who will see, like, your guy is not really right, instead of like pretending that there is nothing happening with him. Sometimes you can notice, but when you can, you should probably address it as soon as you can, so it doesn't turn into something extreme or semi-extreme or anything. So right now, the appeal for me is just to, like you said, because the CS is not because like it was 10 years ago, you raise these things to many different higher levels, and we need to raise these different things as well, because we live in a society right now. We live in a world that the social media and is controlling a lot of things right now, and you can get affected by these, hateful messages all the time. And you need to do something. And taking a break, like you said, and playing games, and still be on Twitter, and still be on fucking Twitch, and still do these things, eat pizzas and all this stuff, right? It's not really a break. It's just making it worse for yourself, right? Because after that you're gonna go back to the practicing and playing all these events, and you're gonna feel exactly the same, or most likely even worse. So you need to say, like, okay, what do I need to do on this break? You ask people, you go around, you see what's working for you. Take a break from, shut down Twitter, turn off your PC, go inside, like you said, into the country, go spend some time with your whoever is making you feel better, right? That's what I said as well. Like, these people are complaining. Sometimes some people are complaining about the quality of life when they're playing multiple events, but they're not really doing anything to improve it. Like I said, if you have $35,000 salary, bring some of your friends to the event. They don't have to be with you in the practice. You tell them, listen. And that this is not the same as girlfriends, by the way. This is a completely different matter. Like, listen, I'm gonna be busy this much of time. I'm gonna have to do this, but I will have free time here, free time there. I want you guys to be with me. I'm not feeling very well lately. I want to improve. You guys, are really big, supportive network for me. And if you can, I would like you to be with me on this event. Like, it's gonna mean a lot to me to perform better. And if they're friends, as you think they are, and they have the time, obviously they will go with you, and then you spend some money of your big salary to improve your quality of life, and then you will improve your mood, your everything around you, and you will play better, and you will be better for your team, for yourself, and it's all tied together. Right now, like I said, we have these kids who hate being in these teams. I know multiple players that are hating the team they're in right now, but they have the money. They buy these business class tickets. They buy this fucking...
Wrap this up, by the way. We've got to wrap this up. Come on, mate.
Yeah, sorry. They buy all this shit, and it's just pissing me off. Sorry. And the end, but they don't feel really well. The quality of life is not very, very...
Yeah,
very
that's
good.
all good. Two things I'm going to tell you. Listen to them both very carefully. I haven't drunk water in half an hour, and in 13 minutes, I have to do a 4-hour live League of Legends show. So we'll make this last point really quick. There's one last hot take, because I promised it earlier in the episode. This is the hot take. So you know how everyone for 3 months told me YEKINDAR's a genius, he's reinvented Counter-Strike, he's taught Nitro and Elise how to play, Daps doesn't exist, and he's the whole reason Team Liquid's any good, right? YEKINDAR has just announced that he's been given IGL responsibilities and that he's allowed to take over fully as the IGL. So here's the hot take. That is a fucking terrible decision. It's actually terrible, and this is the worst example I have ever seen, because if people don't know, Shox did successfully IGL G2, and they won a fucking ECS over that mighty Luminosity Gaming. People like Nico actually have had their teams win blasts and stuff when they were the IGL. You have had people like Cold Zera make calls that have won you majors. Here's my problem. This is the worst example I've ever seen of second caller syndrome, where this guy really thinks, as our entry, who sometimes is on the outskirts, he's going to call the whole T-side. It is so delusional, and I would never give a young player speaking in the second language this responsibility. So I just think this is actually terrible. I'm not even going to say any other angle. I'm not even going to go, if this happens, if that happens. I think it's just terrible. Luckily, he's got Daps. Daps is a very legit fucking character who could maybe help him. But I think you look at some of the players, remember, potentially they're bringing in some newer players. No one really knows what that lineup's going to be like. They're not actually even bizarrely going for, it seems like it's big names. It seems it's like fucking some of the EG players. But I think this is going to fail. I think it's going to fall flat on its face. And even worse, and here's the ultimate one, and this is why I ain't hating on YEKINDAR. YEKINDAR's going to tank his own game if he does this. There's my two predictions. Let's give us some quick responses.
Go Maui.
YEKINDAR was calling a good amount for Liquid already. I know that.
Yeah, and it was shit. I saw the major.
Against certain teams, and I think on Mirage, he was always calling, actually. And Mirage was actually their best map. But that kind of just shows Nitro was filling in a lot of gaps for him. So it is, and Nitro also, this is in its own hot take. Nitro is probably one of the most underrated leaders ever, actually. Yep. Yeah, he probably is the most underrated IGL ever. And so that's where it's really odd. It's just that I think because Nitro didn't come across always as the most passionate and charismatic captain, even though obviously Liquid bigs him up to be that Captain America type, he actually kind of is willing to play the passive role and let YEKINDAR take over. And I think YEKINDAR just kind of wanted to do that because he has the fiery emotions and he kind of imagines himself as a born leader. And whether this will work or not, I actually think that it's kind of Liquid weren't winning tournaments anyways. They were going deep though. They were pretty consistent in terms of results for a bit. But then, like, it's really, to me, I'm just actually most worried about YEKINDAR's individual performance, because if YEKINDAR was able to perform how he did in Liquid with kind of being a secondary caller, and he was outputting as an individual, then this is you're just going to play worse when you're an in-game leader. And then you're not going to have the luxury in your calling to know that you're going to be the one that's always finding the kills. And I'm kind of just worried that he's going to go down that Stewie route where he just starts kind of flying at opponents, just dying and saying, cool, I have the information, I can make the good call now. But like playing 4v5 down is not a good call. Like that's not how you start a T-side round. Like if that's part of your game plan and you think you're going to make a god tier mid round, I want YEKINDAR to just like show that if he's able to keep this level up, I actually think it can work. I think there's a possibility but it's just that, like, are we saying it was working already? Because we were already pretty critical of Liquid for the most part for not winning anything too. So to me, it's not like it's a downtrend in itself. It's more just like, this is to me just kind of lateral. Like it's not, I don't think this is going to really help them. I don't think it's really going to hurt them too much either. They're just still going to stay like to me, rank 7 to 12 team. That's kind of where they're at.
Right, kassad, you got 5 minutes. The timer starts now.
Okay, they went backwards. It's backwards decisioning, and it's like terrible. And I do agree with you, just a terrible call. Right now, he says like in his interview, he says like, yeah, Liquid has given me a whole lot of opportunity. Who is Liquid to give you fucking that? Dabs should give you that, not Liquid. Dabs should be the one deciding who stays and who goes and what needs to be, who needs to be the IGL, who needs to be doing that, not Liquid. Give you full responsibility of doing what. And right now, with that being said, Dabs has no, you said like he is a character. He will have no value. He will be a plant. Like you have probably in your office or whatever, like sitting there, just, maybe getting the air, being a little bit more higher quality. Maui, this film was for you. But the thing is like, the thing is like, in every critical situation, he will be outvoted because Liquid gave him the responsibility. Liquid gave him. That's why he's bringing the CS players and this like Elige. Probably I don't even know why Elige is leaving or he's getting sold out. God knows what happened there. But right now it's completely backwards. You're giving an unproven player. Like for me, YEKINDAR proved nothing in the past 2 years. What did he accomplish? Exactly to be at the helm of Team Liquid. He can go in some other organizations. He would probably be a way to go. But in Team Liquid, who is a championship organization, like they're gambling on him. Why? Because he has proved what exactly? Nothing, right? So for me, it's completely backwards. I see Dabs not being, any kind of vocal voice in that. That's also backwards. And the most important thing I tweeted about this is Naf. Naf is gonna fucking hate it. Like if he has to go through another Stewie type of situation, he's gonna lose his mind. I know that. And I know he will do his job, but he's going to look for a way out very soon. When things go south, he's going to look for a way out, and that's going to be the end of Liquid. On top of the fact that they're switching and losing their identity as a North American organization is one more disgraceful thing. Now, I praised Liquid before for, being the healthy organization and making good calls and having people inside the organization who are respectable at the very least. And they're a long-standing organization with a lot of resources. But right now, whoever made this decision made the wrong decision. Completely and 100%.